Hello everyone and welcome back to a car profile where, if you haven't already guessed, we're looking at the Genesis X Group.3 car. Now if you're not subscribed already, please do subscribe to the channel to stay in touch with all the latest car profiles, all the Beat the Metas and everything else we do here on the channel. So this car, the Genesis X Group.3 car, has a V6 engine and it's turbocharged. Oh, we know it's turbocharged. And you'll find out later in this car profile. It's front-engined, rear-wheel drive, 6 gears on the car. And in terms of the balance of performance, 525 brake horsepower and only weighs at 1,318 kilograms. That's a lot of power and not a lot of weight. Now, in terms of this car, it's a Vision Gran Turismo concept from Genesis in terms of a vision of the future race car. Genesis, of course, are a partner with Gran Turismo, so do expect it to be good. It will very much be fighting towards the front. And as far as this car goes, it's known as the boat of Gran Turismo. It really is. It's the Bentley that we didn't have in terms of Gran Turismo. Genesis has become our Bentley. Let's jump into this car profile, and we're going to look at this car in a little bit more detail. And first up, of course, is the low speed and balance performance test here at Laguna Seca. If you're new to these car profiles, we do a low, medium, and high-speed bop test because we have a low, medium, high-speed bop in the game, which is all the same at the moment, but we do it on each of the individual circuits. We're through this first sector, then we are racing the Porsche 911 RSR. We are 1.5 tenths down on that Porsche. I will say this is one of my slower sectors in Sector 1. It definitely can go quicker. And remember, we do look at optimums, not just fast laps. Now, I'm going to short shift to third here. Third gear in this car is deadly, okay? It loves the power in this car. It's where all the power is. And as we go into this kink, we're going to try and go through here. Another short shift there to avoid that third gear drama when you get to the peak RPM in this car. It's just drama in third gear, it really is. But it actually does help the car as well. Moving up to the corkscrew then. We go second gear, then third gear. And just being careful again as we go through here then. And we are, we've gained some time. The Porsche 911 then. Just 0.06 of a second down it as we head into this last sector then. So we did that corkscrew very well indeed. A 35.8 is very much up there for sector 2 as we go into the final corner then. Throwing the car down nicely. Bit of a short shift there on exit. A little bit of a wiggle on exit. Then we're going to head towards the line then as we race this Porsche 911. Where are we going to fit in here? Oh my word! It's a new fastest lap. We are, well, 19 thousandths of a second up on the Porsche 911. But we do remember, look at optimums, not fastest laps. Fastest laps just compares that lap at the time, but optimums, it is P2 then. It does beat the Porsche still and nearly beats that Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo. I do feel like the Genesis had more time on the table, but the third gear was just causing too much drama and it was really hard to nail those sectors. Now, of course, we look at optimum laps because it's much easier to get 10 perfect sectors across 10 different laps and we can put them together to give you that optimum lap rather than trying to do the peak fastest lap. But you saw that there. It came very close to beating the Porsche, very close to beating the Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo there. It's a very good car, the Genesis at Laguna Seca. Quite surprised me actually, because I was expecting it to do better on other circuits, just knowing what I know from Beat the Meta, which is how we choose these cars. Medium speed bop test then, heading in towards turn 1. Oh, running very close to the edge there. No real dramas in terms of entering turn 1. There is a bit of drama on exit though there in that third gear. Not too bad on this particular lap. But that third gear rotation, okay, yes, it's deadly, but it also helps in handling going around some of these corners. Because it just forces a tiny bit of oversteer, allows the car to rotate and then accelerate away, which is kind of interesting for this car and why it does so well. And we're already 1/10 up. We are up. Folks, we are up here on the Toyota GR Supra, which is also a partner car, remember, as we head towards Tidgney 1. Now, Tidgney 1, this is where the car has tricky moments, okay? Suspension. If you hit a bump in a weird way in this car, and Tidgney 1, you see I avoided the curb there. If I took more of the curb, it really got a lot of oversteer. And you can see we're down now on that Toyota GR Supra. So it's very, very picky in terms of suspension. That's why when setups come around in these daily races, the Genesis, with a bit of setup tweaking on the suspension, suddenly becomes a meta car, and you can really feel it on the default setup. And that's what I do with these, folks. For those that are new, it's literally the default setup. Bop is on. All the information is in the description, of course, as we head in towards Spoon then. As we just missed a bit of our first apex, going to the second one then. We're going to have to short shift to third, and again, third being very deadly. We're at that real weird bit of the RPM, the rev range, the torque curve, where it does want to spin out there. But we don't spin out this time here. As we head towards the line then, where are we versus that Toyota GR Supra as we hit it then? Oh, 63 thousandths. We've lost a tiny bit more time going through 130R. Very good speed there, 148 miles an hour. Very much up there in terms of that then as we go into the final chicane then. Through we go. Second gear, accelerating out of this corner. A bit of a wiggle on exit, but we catch it very nicely. Heading towards the line then. Are we going to beat the Toyota GR Super Racing concept? Not quite. 89 thousandths down then. But remember, we do look at Optimums, and we can already see that Optimum down at the bottom. That says a 58 to me. So where is it going to sit on this leaderboard then? It's going to be up there. We know it's going to be up there. Not many cars in a 58. And it's P2 again. A 58, 874 by the end of the session. And in terms of the session, we do 1 outlap, 10 fast laps. The outlap does include some of the sector times, of course. P2 in the end for the Genesis. And again, I do feel like it potentially could have got P1, but Tidgney 1 was a big issue in terms of cutting that chicane as much as possible and causing a bit of issues with oversteer, actually, because it really did unsettle the car. But it's very much up there again, so it's had 2 seconds so far. What can it do at our next track, then the high-speed circuit? Because that's where it counts. And then, of course, we do have a summary at the end of this whole video where it sits overall. Right, here we are then at Bathurst, which is our high-speed bop test circuit. And as we head towards Turn 1, Turn 1 has a really bad bump, essentially, and it can cause a lot of issues there. You can see the car wanting to wiggle as well on exit. As we continue on out of here, we're going to head towards the end of Sector 1. We are racing the Mazda RX Vision GT3 concept. Now, we know that's a slow sector time by that Mazda in terms of Sector 1, so we are expecting it to be better. There it is then, 66 thousandths, but it's the rest of the lap we're really interested in. Going to this right-hander, third gear again. A lot of cars do struggle here with that third gear oversteer. This car did a lot, just this lap it didn't. Now, you can straighten it up, you can catch it, of course, if you prepare for it. As we go into this left-hander then, this is a very nice exit here. Oh, wow, I thought it was a nice exit. Not on this particular lap, apparently. But generally, it wasn't too dramatic there. Fourth gear, clipping the curb on the inside. You can basically do that corner flat then as we go through the mountain. Now through here, it's going to be a slight lift. There we go. You can do it flat again there. Same for this corner. It's just a slight lift. Trying to accelerate through, maintain as much speed as possible as we start to head down the mountain. And oh, hello, we're 31 thousandths up still here. Oh, it's on here as we go through the left-hander. We accelerate as quick as we can then. Through we go. That looked quite tidy indeed then as we head towards Forest Elbow, and no real drama happening in this car, but of course the exit here can be very dramatic. So I short shift to third, still a bit of a wiggle there with this car then as we continue on out of Forest Elbow onto this long straight. Then let's see what it's like in terms of speed, top end speed. Now remember, we did beat the meta at Daytona in this car. We did indeed, and I won't spoil what the victory was there, whether we got it or not, but you can watch it at the end of this video. We're 32 thousandths up here as we head in towards the final couple of corners. 170 miles an hour at the speed trap that we take there. Through the left-hander we go. Looks quite settled indeed then as we head towards the final corner. What we're looking at here then, folks, we're still purple at this moment in time. Hard on the brakes in towards this final corner then. We don't clip the curves. A bit of a bump there. You got to be careful. We head towards the line then. Is it going to be a new fastest lap here? That is the question. Oh, it is indeed. Oh, 201.6 then. What? 1/10 up on that Mazda. That is a superb lap time. But remember, look at Optimums. Optimums are the deciding factor in this. Did it get rank 1? That is the question. It did indeed, by a 10th and a half there, by beating the Mazda RX Vision GT3 concept and a Toyota Supra. They're all partners there. The top three are all partners, but the Genesis dominating there with 2 minute 1.4 Optimum. It was flying at this track, if I'm brutally honest. It was flying. Yes, there were some risky moments, and when you do push this car, it bites you. So I did have a couple of very big moments with this car. But when you nail that lap, oh, you nail that lap. And once you get used to the car, obviously you can catch it where you know it's going to slide. You can prepare for those slides. And you can see there, 201.4 for the Genesis X Group 3 car. Wow, it's done well indeed. Right, now we go to the fuel test then. So this is all about how the car uses fuel. Now, when I talk about fuel saving, you have to look at performance. I keep mentioning this. It's not about how much fuel is essentially saved in terms of the tank overall. Maybe it's how much you save in terms of that performance. If that makes any sense, we'll explain it in the tables, of course. So top left, fuel map 1, automatic driving, of course. And down in the bottom left, fuel map 3, automatic driving. Then we've got half shift because short shifting is a better way to save fuel. And bottom right is the ultimate fuel saving. So top left finishes first, then it shows you that full revs does work versus half shift then. And it's on 52% fuel, 24 in terms of time. That's very close indeed. The half shift gets there very quickly, 8% saved, but only loses a 10th in time. That is significant in terms of performance. That's the thing I'm talking about there, where the car can save a lot of fuel and not lose that much performance. That's what we talk about, a good fuel saver. Bottom left's just finished next there then. Fuel map 3, lower down. So it was slower there and also used more fuel. shows you it's significant. And bottom right there just comes in at the very end. Again, a 10th down on the fuel map 3 run there with the hard shift, but saved even more fuel. Lots of fuel saved there. Let's have a look at it in terms of the tables then. Let me explain this more in detail. So P3, in terms of the maximum RPM, used a lot of fuel when going to maximum RPM. You can see that right there. The Aston Martin DBR9, for example, obviously a tiny bit slower, but saves so much more fuel there, or doesn't use as much fuel, so should I say, because we're not saving fuel in this regard. So yes, it uses a lot of fuel there, but it is good in terms of that performance. We see that right there in this table being P3. Right, next up then, of course, what are we going to go to in terms of fuel saving now? Because this is where it gets critical with this information. Hard shift, look at that, it's P2, it's joint P2 in fact, but it actually saves more fuel than that Nissan GT-R GT500 car. And you can see that the performance to the 4GT, only 1/10 different, but it does save a lot more fuel. So this is looking like a very good fuel saving car, if I'm brutally honest. It really does. It doesn't lose that much performance, but it can save the fuel. Yes, it might not be as high in terms of the fuel actually saved, but the performance is there. You know, if you're in the Renault RS01 there down at the bottom, it doesn't really matter if you save fuel. You're so far off the pace, because obviously this is extrapolated over a bigger distance. It's an issue. Now, fuel map 3 then, the Genesis does drop down to P6, which is interesting. So this is looking like a car you do not use if you're an automatic driver, if you want to save fuel, okay? That's something that is very interesting to look out for in this regard. Of course, as a car in general, it's a very good in performance. We've seen that at the 3 BOP tests that we've done. But then we're going to jump now to the final one, the emergency fuel saving, where you have to use fuel map, you have to short shift because it's your emergency. We're trying to save to the very end here. And it comes home in P3 then in terms of performance, joint P3 again. Again, it's only a 10th off the 4GT above it, but 4% more saved, but 16% saved overall from the automatic fuel map 1 run. It's a very good car in terms of fuel saving, this Genesis, and it's got the performance to back it up as well. So a very significant car in the grand scheme of performance and fuel saving, and it's very much up there. So I expect to see this even more going forward. If the fuel multipliers are even remotely high, this can save enough fuel and still have that performance. Some of these cars can save more fuel, just doesn't have the performance with it, and that is very critical in terms of fuel saving. Right, what are we doing next? Well, we're doing a tyre test next. So what we're going to do first of all is go on the oval. And what we're doing here is just seeing how the car behaves with tyre wear with no human interaction, or very little human interaction. All I'm doing is foot to the floor and going around the Daytona tri-oval. And all we do is fast forward until the very end to see how much tyre has been, well, not how much tyre has been lost, how long it took to lose all the tyre here. Sorry, it's a bit late, which is why I got that a bit confused there. And all we do is, yeah, we add up all the laps. You can see I'm going round here. It's just flat out, nice and easy as we continue on going round here. And we're just waiting for the tyres to go here. So the right rear is going to go first. It always does. There we go. It's just finished there. So we add up lap 1, lap 2, and lap 3. That gives us a total time for how long the tyres lasted. Remember, in GT Sport, it was all weight-based. We know it's not like that anymore in GT7. So now we're going to do a test with more human interaction. We've got braking, we've got accelerating, we've got cornering, we've got everything in there as well. So this is X in the pits. We'll jump to lap 5 then, because it's up and watching lap after lap after lap. These are very quick laps, by the way. You can see that in the right-hand side then as we continue up the hill here through the right-hander. That front left is going, which is expected. More of the weight is over that front, and it is put a lot of pressure on that front left. As we go through here then, it's just gone there on the exit of this corner. So similar to the previous test, we add up all the laps. So 1 to 4 is added up, including this 5th lap, the 28 seconds at the top there. That gives us an overall time in terms of the tyre life, essentially. Obviously, there's a bit of difference there in some aspects, but I'll explain that in a second. But the Genesis comes home in P9, so it's not too shabby. You know, it's in the top 10 at least for now. So yeah, not too shabby at all for the Genesis. But of course, human interaction does play a bigger factor, and we will gonna have a look at that in just a second as we get towards the back end of this oval tyre test then. And the MR cars are all here, of course, because you do have to compare MR versus MR and FR versus FR. And you can see there the Dodge Viper, being the bottom of the FR cars, seems to be the worst on tyres there. Now we jump to the circuit test, where we don't see the Genesis in the top 10 for the first time, which is a very interesting observation that I spotted, of course, when doing this test. Doesn't even feature in the top 20. However, I want you to focus on the bottom half here, the 356s down towards the bottom ends there. So, you know, P14 down towards where this Genesis is, a 354 dead. Now, do remember, it did the fastest laps, but it did end its tyres at the same point on the circuit. So it's all around the same sort of area for those cars. So even though it's P22, arguably it's joint P14, it just did the laps so much quicker. Now, we did, that's not a word. We did do a speed trap, of course. We do this at Bathurst. And what we're looking for is as we're doing the chase. And you can see there 170 miles an hour. And we do see some of the best cars around this 170, 160 9 mile an hour area. If it's too much faster, there's issues then with understeer. But it seems to be like the perfect area here because the Porsche 911 is also there as well. And again, the AMG GT3 Evo, we know that was up at the front at Laguna Seca. So you can see that there. Right, in terms of the overall summary then, it's P1. It's P1 by a substantial amount. 0.3 of a second in P1. This car is strong. It is absolutely, it's godlike, essentially. It is the meta car, I would say. And it's why we're seeing it a lot in daily races. It is a very strong car, and if you want to use it, go for it. It can be tricky at times. It's not a beginner car by any stretch of the imagination. That third gear power oversteer is very hard to handle, but it's P1 on the leaderboards. P1, folks. It's quite amazing, really. It's obviously just taken 2 fastest laps at 2 of the BOP circuits there. It does need a nerf, in my opinion. It really, really, really does. Now, if you did enjoy this video, do give it a like, subscribe to the channel, stay in touch with all the latest content, of course. And if you're wondering how you want to get your car tested, if it's not on those leaderboards, all you have to do is comment down below. And if it gets enough votes, I may then do it next, of course, because it has to do a beat the meta. And you can see the Genesis beat the meta right there. Or alternatively, if you want to have a look at a different car profile, there is one there for you. My logo's there if you want to subscribe, of course. And I do hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in a video or live stream again very soon.